Welcome to the Atom Ventures podcast. My name is Bhairav Patel. I am the CEO, co-founder of Atom Ventures, and today I'm here with Dan Portik from BVS Film Production. Hello, Dan.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing very well, doing very well. So we're going to talk about a number of different things. One is about your new book, obviously, The Secret All. Then we're going to be talking a little bit about your business, BVS Film Production, and how video can enable businesses to grow their sales leads, close those leads, and essentially broadcast their brand out to the world. So, just to start, can you give us a little bit of introduction about yourself, some of your background? How you started off as a musician, and then you ended up with BVS Production. So, how did that all come about?
Right. Well, when I was much younger, that was one of my goals, was to be a rock star like every other kid in the United States. So, it was fun. We, when I got out of school, we did that for a while, and I'm still a musician. I still play all the time. It's not like out anywhere. But I've been, probably about, I think maybe around 24, 25, I started, ended up going into health club membership sales. And it was just like, go in there and try it. And I was introduced to a gentleman called Tom Hopkins. And Tom Hopkins was probably the guru of sales back in the era of the 80s and 90s. And I learned everything about sales from him during that time. I ended up getting into a photo enlargement group that was doing some different things, and they wanted to get into the advertising world. And I'm like, well, you know what? I know sales. I know how to close. I know how to prospect. What do you say I go out and do this? And I did that for a while with them, and it grew, and I ended up taking that company over, and it became a company called Jamestown Group, and that's here in Cleveland, Ohio for about 20 years. And I just grew into the advertising world from there. And then recently it turned it into video production, and probably about 7 years ago, we became a video content marketing group, because we saw that's the way the market was turning and going that direction. And it grew from there, and that's what I'm doing today.
Did you actually manage to play any big concerts when you were younger? Just
warm up. I warmed up for some pretty good sized people back in the day, but that's many, many years ago.
So let's talk about video marketing, because video marketing is something that is, I would say, slightly bigger in the US than it is here in the UK. And obviously it's something where you're seeing a lot more videos on all of the social media platforms and networking platforms, et cetera. And obviously with COVID-19, we've got a lot more going on with Zoom and Zoom meetings. So my question to you really is around video marketing. What makes a good video marketing strategy? How do you know you're developing the right content? Because obviously I've written some scripts for my own company, but it's a very difficult thing to do, to try and put in a large amount of information into a small amount of words. So what do you suggest people do? How do they get started with video? Do they have long form, short forms, mixture of everything, animated, in person?
Right. Yeah. So we found with our business, one of the best things to do is start with what you said, a script. I've always found with customers, the best, have a professional script writer develop your script, or someone that has done that in the past. Whenever our clients come to us, we always start with a script, and then that's your roadmap that you work with. So they may come to us with 4 pages of copy. When it's done, it's down into, we know how to turn it into a 1 or 2 minute video and just take the main points from it. So that's step one. Once you have that roadmap, then you can develop things that relate to that. Let me go back a step. In the script, there is also camera direction and things that relate to what the narrator's saying. So once that's all approved, and it's like building a house, you got to have the plans for your house correct before you can go to the next step. So once that's approved, then we go to setting up time to shoot. We get the script to a specific voiceover that'll do the work if you're going to use a voiceover. Sometimes we will take and develop a script that's more like subject oriented, and then we'll have our customer go on camera. That's very popular right now, because you get kind of the personality of the individual, as well as the information that they're giving out. And it culminates into a video over a period of 3 or 4 weeks in many cases. The types of videos to develop, I've got a whole slew of different directions to go with that. But normally what we try to do from a sales standpoint is, in our business, we create a series of prospecting videos that are short little segment videos that you can send out to, specific people within your industry. And then we also have customer testimonials, overview videos. So there's a whole group of videos that we like to create. So by the time a customer gets to us or a prospect gets to us, they know everything about our company. And this rings true with our company, and I know it's working because I've sold as much as $20,000 worth of video production without ever speaking to the customer. So that type of process does work.
So let's just dive a little bit deeper into that prospecting. So when you say prospecting videos, what kind of video do you mean by that?
Yeah. So normally we'll do segmented videos that relate to specific industries through LinkedIn. In many cases, I would say 90% of my business comes through LinkedIn, direct sales, direct prospecting to specific individuals, no automated messages. I just find the right people, the right groups within my LinkedIn account. And we send a short message that relates to their industry and a video that also relates to their specific industry. And we've had really good success with that. Some of them, I mean, the one I was just mentioning, that one sale, it came from 2 lines and maybe 15 to 30 second video, I think. It was a little promo video we did. And it was a very large company. It was a VP of a large company. And he said, that's it. That's what I need. So I know they work, but you got to do the numbers too. You want to build your LinkedIn account, you want to build your profile, you want to build the thing. So when this goes out, people check your profile, they know it looks professional, and they want to communicate with you. Right. So I mean, just to be clear, was this something you sent out directly to a person, or was this just generally part of your online marketing? So because I see that you've got obviously your business, you've got your own personal website, so you've got a number of channels that you put things out. So how do you differentiate where you put one thing out versus the other? Yeah, right. So over the years, I built my LinkedIn account, to thousands of people. So within there's a thing called Sales Navigator that you can go in and you can drill down to very specific audiences. And so it was a mass type approach, but it's individual. And I have people here in my office that actually send these messages out on my behalf, that are very specific, that go out to these groups of individuals. And you do the numbers, you get business from it. So this is interesting because on one of your blog posts, you talk about it all being about the numbers. So it was one of your interviews with, an interview with Tom Hopkins, right? You're talking about one of his stories. So, and you mentioned that you knock on 100 doors, you're bound to get one prospect. But is that, a lot of people are talking about more targeting your audience rather than trying to do a big broadcast, because in this day and age, it's quite expensive to really broadcast out without any thought about who you're trying to get. Well, that's where we kind of semi-target this. And my book, I wrote a book with Tom Hopkins, became a bestseller, is called Fill Your Funnel. In there, we talked specifically about how to do this type of marketing. It's not really broadcast. So let's say it's kind of like segmenting. So let's say you take an industry like any industry really, whatever it might be, manufacturing, and you can maybe break that down into maybe a demographic, of 200 miles from your location. If your business is related to, a demographic that needs to be close to your client, that would be the audience. So it might be 200 people that are relating to industrial. So we would send out a manufacturing video saying, here's some things you may want to do. Another one might be like employee retention. It's a very popular subject, trying to find that right employee, recruitment videos. So we do segment them, and we try to get vertical to some extent, but you're still going to do the numbers with them. Sure. So let's talk about your books. You've written 4 books, I believe, at the moment, right? So you've got Fill Your Funnel, one on shooting a mobile device, and then the professional online presence. Firstly, how did you with the Fill Your Funnel? There's a lot of books out there on that kind of thing. So how did it develop? How did it start? And then how did you get it out there? How did it become a bestseller? Yeah, so probably about 3 years ago, I think it's about 3 years, 2018. Yeah, somewhere in there. I decided to reach out to Tom Hopkins because I was closing these sales using his techniques online. And, he has always done these in person. And I brought it up to him. I said, hey, you know what? this could be a very interesting book because all your techniques I'm using are working online. So he got back to me probably in about 3 or 4 days via online email, or I'm sorry, LinkedIn. And he says, well, go to my VP, talk to them, and they'll see if it's an interesting concept. We'll see if we may want to take it to the next level. So I got probably a call or an email probably about 5 to 7 days later. And she said to me, send me everything you have on this concept. So, I sent out an outline originally, and she says, we like it and we need to go to the next level. So she started shopping publishers. He's written, I think, somewhere between 20 and 25 books already. Many of them were bestsellers. So he had his relationships with publishers already. And we entered into an agreement. One of the publishers said, we're very interested. We'll produce it as soon as you make it. So the pedal was on the metal at that point. So a year later, and about 35,000 words between us, we developed the book and did some unique promotions with it, and it became a bestseller in probably about 1 month.
So if we can do a bit of teasing to the listening audience, what are the key takeaways from the book? Without giving the whole book away, what would you say are the, let's say, top 3 or 4 points that you put in there, the techniques?
So basically, some of the techniques involved are developing the proper profile, because before you can reach anybody online, you must have the proper profile. You have to know what you want to say to these people, and you have to make it interesting for them as well as for yourself. And then you have to have the courage to send it out to these people. So, the book really talks about developing the right message that's going to get results online through prospecting all the way to closing sales. And there's many different samples of real life closes that I've done in there that show here, this is actually working out there right now.
Do you have one story that you can give us around that?
Yeah, the one I mentioned before was a story of a very large manufacturing. Well, they're consumer oriented, really. You would know them like you would know Kleenex or any big company, Xerox, for example. They're gigantic. And I did a very short prospecting video to them. They were very interested. We probably did 15 emails back and forth from there over a period of 5 weeks. And it culminated, the first time I actually spoke to them was after I picked up a deposit check at their office, and the sale was $20,000. So, yeah, that's the concept. I know it works, and it's the process.
And that's amazing. So I guess one of the key sticking points or issues is around the building of a proper profile, right? And then, as you say, making it interesting, because in many ways, when you're sitting in the position of the person developing that service or product, you feel that you know why people buy it, but do you actually really know why people buy it, or people are engaged? And it can be for many different reasons than you think that people are interested, and they become interested for wholly different reasons than you think they should be interested, if you see what I mean. So how is there a way really of understanding how people interpret your message, I guess is a question there. Is there a way of understanding how people interpret your products and services that externally?
Yeah, so we try to make it as simple as possible. I mean, the more simple and polite you are with your message, the better. And the way we do that is we suggest that once you create your message, you run it by people either in your office or some higher up people, some executives you might know, and say, hey, what do you think of this? Many times when people create an online message, they don't understand that, or they're a little confused about, it may sound great to me, but what does it really sound like to the other person? And we always err on the side of politeness. And that makes a big difference, because once you get somebody on your side, it's hard to lose them. And they want you make it so they want to engage with you.
So I guess what you're saying is not to be too pushy at the outset. What you're looking at is building some sort of rapport.
You build a rapport, you give information that's useful for that individual. And again, it is numbers. You're going to talk to 100, you're going to email at 100 of these, and you might get 1 or 2 that are going to be effective. There's other ones in there that talk about much larger deals that have went through from doing this. But I've always found it's probably maybe 5 or 6 emails. You have to make a phone call or 2. But I would say 90% of the business that we get here, I very rarely see a customer. I mean, and now we do it with Zoom meetings and Skype and things like that. But gosh, it's mostly just on the phone, and they know who I am because they already have seen my groups of web videos out there.
So then pushing this back to the video piece, how important is the quality of the video in the sense that, is it something that I could just do something on my phone as a quick to camera to say, hi, I'm Bhairav, we provide technology advice to small businesses. We work with companies like yourselves to help them increase whatever. Or does it need to be a slick, something you'd see from Microsoft or something you see from Apple?
Yeah, well, and I'd say both. And part of it, depending on who you're going after, if you want to go after the Microsofts of the world or something, really any business that's in business, they want to see that you are able to do something nice. Usually your initial video that you do that talks about your company or whatever you're doing should be something nice, between 1 and 2 minutes, should be branded well. It should all the volume should be right. Everything should be in focus. And it does depend on your industry, but for the most part, just in general, business video should be professionally developed. And then you can talk about doing ancillary videos that you may do on your phone. If you do get involved with those on your phone, one of my books talks about how to develop a professional video using your phone or mobile device. You want to have a tripod, you want to have a professional audio, like a little lapel mic, just little things that will separate you from the guys out there sitting in a bathroom or wherever, listening to ambient noise off the wall. It's hard to believe somebody that's a PhD when they're sitting in their living room. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
It's important.
Definitely. So, I was going to ask you that during the age of COVID, obviously with companies like yourself that are producing these videos, how have you been affected by that? Because obviously you can't have someone in a studio, or maybe you can.
Well, it's been actually a big positive for us. I hate to say it. We went through a little down cycle where everybody just pulled in the reins, but now it's like, wow, it's completely turned around to another direction. And we're riding a wave right now on this because the only way you can communicate is by video now, really. For the most part, you still can see some people in person, but it's your first salesperson out there anymore.
So what's your process when you're dealing with new clients? Obviously, you mentioned that you'll take a script that comes to you and whittle it down, but what are the other things that you do when you're taking on new people?
Yeah, depending on the type of clients. Many of our clients are much larger and they use us for pieces parts. So one of our customers is a $5 billion company. Well, we're never going to do all their advertising or even all their video. They have, for example, I think 3 video production companies in-house. So our niche has really been going in. They would come to us and say, hey, you know what? We can't even talk to our video production group for 3 weeks. I need a video in 2 days. Can you do it? So we've become the go-to guys for groups like that, where they already know what they want. They just can't find somebody to do it. So that's been a growth area for us. But let's say small to medium-sized businesses, what we try to do is we go in with a quick R&D, Zoom meeting of maybe an hour or two, and we kind of do a SWOT analysis. We go through all their strengths, weaknesses, obstacles and whatnot, and we find a way to develop a program for them that will give them an entire process from start to finish with videos. Some know what they want already, most don't. And that usually starts with their initial video. Many of these customers don't have a short video that explains what they do. And that's like number one. I mean, if you're, what do you do? What's your why? There should be a video on something like that.
For sure. So all this sounds quite expensive. Is it, or how much should people be spending?
Well, it varies. Pardon me. It depends. I have customers that do things for $1,000 a month for a year. I have other ones that do it for 10 times that price. It really has to do with budget. What's your budget? What do you want to do? To use a professional group, we have to pay our people. You get a better result, but there is an investment involved. Sometimes we sit down with a customer and say, okay, let's talk about creating a budget. Here's what these things normally cost to develop this. And we can change parameters. We just need to know what you want to spend to get this rolling. So there's a couple different ways. A lot of times our customers work off a retainer. They work off a monthly basis. That way they can see results and we would see results at the same time.
Right. Okay. Excellent. And if people want to get in touch with you on this, then how do they do that?
Anybody can go to danportic.com, danportik.com. It has my personal business, all the information necessary to find out about me and my company as well.
Excellent. So let's talk about the secret next door. So it's about secret online door with LinkedIn. Tell us a little bit about, after you wrote Fill Your Funnel, this is your latest book, right?
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about your journey from that to this, and then who's this written for, and what are you trying to tell people, I guess?
Yeah. So the secret online door is really the process of reaching almost anybody online at any level and what it takes to do that. And I use Tom Hopkins as an example. I would have never thought to be able to go after someone like that and reach him and actually work with him. And that's actually built into a nice relationship, by the way. We're now doing his life story film documentary. So that's another thing. But that all branched off from the initial meeting. But that book, basically, The Secret Online Door, talks about, all the steps necessary, all the ingredients necessary to have somebody believe you, not only to reach out, but to have somebody believe you and to negotiate with them to your advantage at any level. So going after vice presidents, presidents of companies, celebrities, whatever it might be, there's a process involved. There's ingredients involved that will get you known and seen.
Just out of interest, how, without giving too much away about the book, but how complex and how long is that process?
Well, it boils down to 5 steps, 5 different things. And we kind of touched on a little bit, but just to give you an idea, step 1 is, you have to have a profile. You have to have an online presence that is right there with the person you're dealing with. Some people think, well, it's okay. What about my photo? And, do I need that? Everything needs to be professional. If you're sitting on a lawn chair in your backyard, that's going to be difficult to show, when you're trying to deal with a vice president of a company. That's just step 1. Know what you want out of your negotiation, whatever it might be. Most people go into any type of negotiation and they go in on emotion, that they don't know what they want. And that backfires, because if you're dealing with, let's say, a customer service situation and you're trying to get something done, you're going to take whatever they offer to you first versus, having that in mind, before you go into it. Know the right person. You have to know at one level, for example, going back to customer service, you're dealing with one type of person. There's a person higher that has the levers necessary to change things for you. You just have to find that person. And sometimes that comes with sending one message to 20 people within a company at different levels, which can be done through LinkedIn and several other groups. The 4th step would be have a message that benefits both of you, whatever it might be. In the case of Tom Hopkins, I was taking his techniques and I was using them online, and we were going to culminate that into a book. I knew what I wanted. My profile was together, and it created an interest for both of us. And the last step, and most important step, is overcome the fear to send the message. When you're dealing with it, so many people will have a fear to even send that message out because they don't feel they're worthy enough to reach someone like that. And I'm here to tell you, it definitely works if you can follow these ingredients and, have the courage to hit the button, the send button. Good things can happen.
Yeah, I guess
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, sorry. I was going to say, on your last point, I guess a lot of that is also the fact that people fear, what impression they give on the first impression. But I guess, and because everyone is very concerned about the very first impression that you give someone.
Right. But
I'm not entirely sure how. I think it's very easy to make a bad impression, but it's not. Okay, I guess what I'm trying to say here is that, especially with all the contacts that people that come to me, it's very easy for them to make a bad impression without them doing any homework. I think that's the thing that I find, is that people just selling me services that I already have or I sell, and that just puts you off completely. So I think if you put a little bit of thought, as you say, into building the profile, understanding who they are, what their pain points are, then you're going to be much more responsive, and then you should worry less about that.
Right. And there's one other thing you can do is, once you build your profile, talk to a friend, talk to a higher up, and ask them, hey, go look out on the web and see if you can find some dirt on me. And you know what I mean? And So that way, no matter what, obviously you want to have a good friend do this, so they can find that, because it'd be like the average person out looking for it. And he may see something out there. Oh man, I didn't want to have that out there. You may not have seen it, but someone else may, and you can, fix it from there.
I do actually have Google Alerts set for myself, just in case, not that I would do anything else, but some other random Bhairav Patel out there would be doing something a bit weird.
Right. Right.
Because you never know, right? Because people can associate you with someone completely different.
Exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So one of the last questions I ask people, and I've asked this to all my guests, is if you could go back in time 20 years and give advice to your younger self, what would that advice be?
Oh gosh, that is a really good question. I would say be fearless. Be fearless no matter what. And don't be afraid to take chances that you could have took. Do them sooner. That's what I would have said. Do it sooner and be fearless no matter what.
I would have suspected that as a musician, someone on stage, you have to have a fair amount of fearlessness there, don't you?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Oh yeah,
I mean,
and I think maybe not party so hardy. That's what I when I was younger.
But actually, that's an interesting question. And did your life as a performer actually help you get in front of it was easier for you to get in front of the camera and then just talk to people because of that?
Actually, no. It was strange. As a musician and a singer, I'm able to go on stage, but boy, it's different when you're talking one-on-one with somebody. And it took practice. It took 50 times before I started getting comfortable doing it. And that's with these podcasts as well. I had to do a bunch of them, get them under my belt to be able to talk comfortably with people about it.
Yeah, because okay, so how's that progression been? Has it been a long progression? Has it taken a while to get to where you're at now?
I don't think so. A couple of years. You really have to get comfortable with it. I still don't do any public speaking. I would love to try to do that. And I've had an opportunity to interview some pretty successful people in that world due to this documentary we're doing. And every one of them says the same thing. Do what you fear most. Do what you fear most. It's just this underlining thing through everybody I've talked to. What's the key to success? Do what you fear most. Pretty crazy, huh?
Yeah, and that is good general life advice. So just for the at the end of the podcast, how do people get in touch with you again? And where is your book selling?
Sure. The books are on Amazon. For the most part, I would say it's the easiest way to reach them. And you can go through danporticcom and everything's on there. I actually have some really good videos, short videos on everything about this. We talk about online sales and training and whatnot that you'd be able to utilize as well.
Yeah, and just to say that I've been through those some of those videos as well, and the glory of them are that they're not like 3-hour long videos, right? You've got 55 seconds, you've got a minute here, 2 minutes there, and that's great. It's enough to it's the right length that you can consume while you're having.
Yeah, eventually I'm going to do like an online training program, but it's just finding the time. We're going to make it happen.
Yeah, so well, thanks for that, Dan, and for any listeners out there, if you like what you're hearing, then subscribe to the Atom Ventures podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, all of those wonderful places. Thanks a lot, Dan.
Oh, great. Thanks for having me. This has been a lot of fun.